This is our presentation on El Salvador's climate change. Central America, El Salvador is the smallest and most densely populated of the 7 Central American countries. Although it has little level land, it was traditionally an agricultural country dependent on coffee exports, but by the 20th century the service sector had dominated the economy. El Salvador is bordered by Honduras, Guatemala, and the Pacific Ocean, as you can see here. It is located in the Central American volcanic axis, which accounts for its mountainous topography. In the 1970s to early 1990s, El Salvador had a 12-year-long civil war and profound social inequality. It ended with a United Nations mediated peace accords. The country had began to recover from political and economic turmoil, only to be devastated by a hurricane in 1998 and an earthquake in 2001. Climate change has caused a small rise in sea levels, which caused about 1,000 feet of the mangroves that you can see here, which they depend on, to vanish beneath the ocean since 2005. According to El Salvador's Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources, the country will lose somewhere between 10 to 28% of its coastal territories in the next century due to sea level rise. Severe deforestation, land degradation, and the small amount of forest cover left increase El Salvador's vulnerability to variability and change. Climate history. There's been an increased average temperature of 1.3 degrees Celsius, an increase in overall precipitation, and in turn an increase of drought. Also a sea level rise of 7.8 centimeters since the 1950s. Now we'll talk about some of the projected changes in climate by the 2050s. There will be an increased temperature of 1.4 to 2 degrees Celsius, a decreased precipitation by 2 to 15%, longer and drier periods of drought, increased frequency and intensity of weather and climate extremes, and lastly, a sea level rise of 18 centimeters. Due to these extreme changes, agriculture production will decline, the water will be stressed for most of the population, there will be loss of biodiversity and coastal degradation. Severe storms will continue to negatively impact the infrastructure, and climate change will also affect the human health of the population. Many other things to help prevent further climate change. Agriculture, water, coasts, and forests have been identified as priority areas for adaptation in El Salvador. A 5-year development plan was created which called for the development of national climate change policy to mainstream climate change into sectoral policies on health, agriculture, energy, transport, infrastructure, water management, and waste. They're also currently working on a national adaptation plan and a climate change framework law that has an expected completion in 2019. Here are our sources.